Hey, it's UPB here from OptionMillionaires.com, July 27th, Friday. Woohoo! It's Friday. Everyone's at the bar, having a good time, out for dinner, at the movies, having a great time, except me. That's right, I've been up since 5 o'clock this morning. So when I did a little update, I was talking about Expedia dragging Priceline higher, but of course, I wasn't the first one. Jimmy Bob yesterday before the close, as well as other people in the chat room at OptionMillionaires.com. Congratulations, I'll name one. Retired MM. Great calls today, buddy. Great calls, calling for Priceline today to be pushed higher because of Expedia. And Expedia did not disappoint. The reason Priceline was under 630, just amazing if you think about it. Priceline was under $630 yesterday, getting killed, destroyed. Everyone thought it was going to fall to zero. A lot of people piled in for earnings disappointment from Expedia, and they were wrong. But us at OptionMillionaires.com, especially Jimmy Bob, Tired R, MM, among others, there are many others, they got into those Priceline calls this morning. They're the ones out partying. I'm here, stuck here doing the video. Sorry, me. We had Priceline, just amazing move. So it was down under $630. Today went to over $685, a over $50 move. That's just a great move for an options player who's trading options that expire today. That's what those Priceline weeklies did. They expired today. And for a lot of people, they expired significantly in the money. Let me get into it here for you. We have the Priceline $670 calls. Jimmy Bob at the open this morning. You can go to stocktwits.com. You can see his post 9:30 right at the open talking about Priceline bursting out of the gate. And it did a little bit, kind of limped up until about lunchtime before it really started to take off. So you had plenty of time to get into these 5,660% gain, $670 calls. That's right, they went from a nickel. You could have gotten in these a nickel at the open, a nickel. Let me say that one more time, just for emphasis. A nickel. And to put that into perspective, if you don't know stock options, uh, a nickel, if you buy one option, that'll cost you $5. You buy 10 of them, it'll cost you $50. So let's just say you had $50 that you were gonna, I don't know, go out to Outback Steakhouse with your wife or girlfriend or boyfriend, or however that works for you. You could have instead put it into Priceline at the open when Jimmy Bob posted it on Stock Twits, or even the day before. And that $50 you could have sold later on in the day at the high for about $15,500. Not bad. So you could have taken that $50 back, went out to Outback at the end of today anyway, and be left with $15,450 from your $50. Hey, not so bad, huh? That's what I say. And we can go on to Priceline. Let me just go to another Priceline option here. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm a little excited. No, we have the 665s, an even more amazing move. These options as well hit a low today of 5 cents and the high $20.70. Hit the low down here, right at the open, 5 cents, about 5 minutes into 10 minutes into the trading session. Now, meanwhile, like I said, Jimmy Bob had these posted this morning at 9:30 at the open. So about 5 minutes in, the 665s were going for 5 cents. That's what one of the prices were. That was the low. And then hit a high of $20.70. So if you were lucky enough to get those 5 cents, you could have bought 10 of them for $50, sold them later on for $20,700. And you take that $50 you invest, you would have been left with $20,020. Take away some commissions, you're left with 20 grand from $50. Now, had you gotten in a little later, you hadn't, gosh, until 11:30, 12, about lunchtime, they went to $1. And even then, you could have bought uh, one of them, one option contract. Or say, for instance, let's just make it simple. You could have bought, if you were that risky, you had that much money lying around to put in and out of the money option that expires today, you could have bought 10 of them for $1,000, and you'd be sitting on $20,000. So that's if you had gotten in late, a little late to the game. You're out a little bit, raking the lawn or whatever, mowing the lawn, walking your dog. So that's Priceline. Just an amazing move. We were on top of that Option Millionaires. You guys know that. It was on the board. How about Google? Google had a great move. I've been playing this one often, but I didn't play it today, unfortunately. Some lucky souls did, I'm sure. The 625s, just a huge move. Look at these. These are the $625 calls for Google. They expired today. They were basically worthless this morning. They went down to about 10 cents just after the open. That's including the spike up. We had a nice spike up with Google, but it just kept going and going and going. Ultimately hitting almost $10 on these $625 calls. Went from 15 cents to $10. That's $150 into 10 grand. So Google. And another special here, we had Amazon. I know a lot of people ripping into Amazon. Amazon had earnings last night, and they fell. Initially, stock dropped down to about 230, and then came back to about even, and that's kind of where it opened in the morning. And Jimmy Bob actually posted on Stock Twits. He was looking at the calls, the 230 calls and the 235 calls. And so you had a good 15 minutes here to get into the calls. I think Jimmy Bob got in at about 40 cents. The low was 26 cents, I believe, on these. It went from 26 to $8. That's 260 bucks into 8 grand. Just a fabulous move. Now the options show a gain of 30%, yes, and I've pointed this out many times, especially if you go to earnings for Amazon, Apple. The next day, if the stock doesn't move initially huge, the options get crushed. They get destroyed. And that was just a great opportunity to get into it if you thought the stock was going to rise during the session. And it did. So while the option traders who were getting into Amazon yesterday, this morning they were crying. Those who got into the options for Amazon today, the call options, expecting upside in the stock, were very happy. You could have got in at 40 cents, 50 cents, 60 cents. The low was 26 cents. You could have even got in at $2. I mean, you're looking at a triple, double. Hey, who's counting when you're getting that type of return, right? You could have waited for Amazon to confirm its move higher. It didn't give too much of an opportunity. And you can go down out to the 35, $235 calls. They were going for a nickel. That was the low here. That was the low right down here. People were giving up. A lot of people got into the option, say the 235 strike last night. Didn't see the stock was going to ramp higher. This morning probably just wanted to salvage whatever they had left. And they were probably crying at the end of the day today. They could have salvaged a lot more than a nickel as the options went to $3.30. That's 50 bucks into 3 grand. 500 bucks into $33,000. So that's what we're talking about when we're trading stock options. Like I say all the time, you could trade Amazon. Amazon was up 4, 5, 6%, right? You have $10,000 worth of money to invest. Now, of course, stock options, out of the money options especially, are very risky, high risk. These moves, while they do happen, especially recently, we had Chipotle Mexican Grill make a similar move. We had Starbucks earnings I was in. We had Google today make a huge move. It doesn't always happen this way, and you have to position yourself right and always put the amount of capital you're willing to risk on the table and be ready to pull out if you're looking to lock in losses. You want to take some losses out. But the point being, if you had 50 bucks lying around today, you could get in a price line and made an enormous amount of money. You could have got into Google, 15 cents, even at 20 cents, 30 cents, or say 50 cents. You could have bought. The list goes on. And that's why we trade stock options. So my point is this. You have 10,000 in your account. You're going to buy Amazon. You get a 6% gain. Ooh, that's 600 bucks. You could have taken that same 6% gain and invested, 75% less money and made 5,000% on your investment. That's why we trade stock options. That's why whenever I trade stock options, I don't load the boat. You don't need to be, buying thousands and thousands of dollars. You don't have to buy 200 contracts. You see all of the prices I do when I'm doing in my option videos, they're in 10. Very easy to calculate, okay? So, what a great week we had. Just a great week for anyone who cares. I was in the Starbucks today. I got out this morning. I got into Starbucks puts yesterday. Those were a nice gain. One of the few stocks that was down today. And even then, it recovered late in the session. So, all right. I'm going to have a video later on. I'm also going to have a nice earnings preview. I had it last weekend and the weekend before. Have it again this Sunday at 10:30. This is UPB here from OptionMillionaires.com. Got to catch my breath. Those of you out there celebrating, some of you on a jet plane to a beautiful island. I mean, if you really think about it, just the gain potential, it's unbelievable. It really is. And people come to the site after I post something like this, and they're like, "Oh, you got the math wrong." I'm like, "All right, buddy. Next time you've got a contract worth $36, you can give it to me for 360 bucks instead of 3 grand, okay?" All right, that's how we got the math wrong. All right, it's UPB here from OptionMillionaires.com. I hope you have a fabulous weekend, and I know it's just going to get better and better because that's the way life works, doesn't it? UPB here. Take care. Have a great weekend. Goodbye.